Find the boy. 3 words that will change everything. Have you ever lost something so precious that you'd burn the world down to get it back? Have you ever had to choose between who you are and who you need to become? Tonight's story is about that choice. The rain falls hard on metal containers in a Busan shipping yard. Each drop pounds like a warning, like time running out. Footsteps echo across wet concrete, rapid, panicked. Someone's running through the maze of steel, desperate to escape. Amina Diop steps from an armored SUV, rain streaming off her black leather jacket. She's 33 years old and has built an empire most men wouldn't dare challenge. Around her, subordinates kneel with their heads bowed. No one looks up. She's called the Black Queen of Seoul's underworld, ruthless, untouchable. A woman who turned grief into power and never looked back. A mafia leader who built an empire from pain, until tonight. A traitor is dragged forward, his knees scraping concrete. He trembles as he holds out a USB drive. "Please," he whispers, "I gave you what you wanted." Amina takes it without speaking. Her face could be carved from stone. She opens the file on her phone. The screen glows in the darkness, and there, a child's face, round eyes, soft cheeks, a small scar above the left eyebrow, shaped like a crescent moon. The same scar her son had when they took him 4 years ago. 4 years of searching, 4 years of waking up, reaching for a child who wasn't there. Her breath stops. "Where?" Her voice is low, deadly. The traitor speaks quickly. "Busan. Near the port, Yongho Street. The boy, he's with someone. A young man, Korean. He calls the boy his son." Amina's hand tightens around the phone. The screen cracks. "Find the boy." She turns and walks back to the SUV. Behind her, orders are given. People move. The machine she built does what it does best. But inside the car, when the door closes, Amina leans her head back. Her hands are shaking. For 4 years, she's been a queen, ruling an empty kingdom. For 4 years, she's had power over everything except what matters most. Her child, her Malik, the name she whispered over his crib before the rival factions stormed her home, before the gunfire, before she chose to fight instead of run, believing she could end the threat and save him both. She was wrong. "Drive to Busan," Amina says quietly. "Now." City lights blur past as they speed through the night. Amina stares at the photo on her cracked screen. 4 years ago, her enemies knew exactly how to destroy her. They took the one thing that made her human. Now she's finally found him. But a terrifying question forms in her mind. What if he doesn't remember me? What if he doesn't want me? What if I've become someone my own child would fear? Morning light filters through thin curtains in a room that barely fits a bed. Ji-ho Park wakes to the sound of ships' horns from the port. He's 24 years old, though his hands look older, rough, calloused from loading crates 12 hours a day. His room is 20 square meters, 1 bed, 1 small table, a hot plate in the corner. He owns 3 shirts and 2 pairs of pants. He eats rice and kimchi most days. He hasn't bought new shoes in 2 years. But when the small voice calls from the futon on the floor, everything else disappears. Appa, Hodu, the name means walnut because his head was so round when Ji-ho first found him, sits up, rubbing his eyes. He's 4 years old with deep brown skin and eyes that hold entire universes. He wears a sweater Ji-ho mended 3 times, the elbows patched with mismatched fabric. "Good morning, little one." Jiho kneels beside him, checking his temperature with the back of his hand. It's automatic now. Hodu has asthma, mild, but it means Jiho sleeps lightly, always listening for the wheeze in his breathing. Hungry, Hodu says and smiles. That smile. It's what keeps Jiho going through 14-hour shifts, through winters when the heating barely works, through moments when he counts coins to buy milk. He found Hodu 2 years ago, abandoned in a cardboard box near the fish market. No note, no name. Just a baby wrapped in a thin blanket, crying in the cold. Jiho should have called the police, should have taken him to social services. But he looked into those eyes and saw himself, alone, unwanted, invisible to a world that had no space for poor boys with nothing to offer. So he kept him, named him, learned to be a father by trial and error and love. "Let's make breakfast," Jiho says, lifting Hodu onto his hip. The boy wraps his arms around his neck, trusting, complete. Jiho cooks rice porridge on the hot plate, adding a precious egg he saved from yesterday. He feeds Hodu slowly, wiping his mouth between bites, making airplane sounds that earn him giggles. Through the thin walls, he hears Mrs. Choi, the landlady, arguing with her husband. Hears Mr. Kim coughing in the next room. The building is full of people like him, barely surviving, holding on by threads. But they're kind. They watch Hodu sometimes when Jiho works late. Mrs. Choi brings soup. Mr. Kim taught Hodu to count to 10 in Korean. This is Jiho's world, small, poor, beautiful in its simplicity. After breakfast, he checks Hodu's inhaler, making sure it's full, that the mechanism works. He keeps it in his pocket always, along with the emergency number for the clinic. "Appa has to work today," Jiho says gently. "Mrs. Choi will watch you, okay?" Hodu's face falls. "You come back?" Every single day, that question. Every single day, it breaks Jiho's heart a little. "Always," he promises, kissing the top of his head. "I always come back." Later, at the port, Jiho loads containers onto trucks. His back aches, his shoulders burn. But he thinks about Hodu's smile and keeps moving. Jiho pauses, wiping sweat from his forehead. He doesn't answer the question directly. Instead, he pulls out a small photograph from his wallet. Creased and faded, it shows him as a teenager with an older woman. "My mother," he says quietly. "She raised me alone. We had nothing, but she taught me that love isn't what you have. It's what you give. She died when I was 17. The day before she passed, she made me promise something." He looks at the photo tenderly. She said, "Jiho, if you ever find someone who needs you, don't turn away. Because being needed is what makes us human." When I found Hodu in that box, I heard her voice. He puts the photo away and smiles at the neighbor. "So he doesn't just need me, I need him. Because taking care of him keeps me connected to the best person I ever knew." A neighbor whispers through her door, "You work so hard, but still take good care of him." Jiho just smiles, his voice soft. "Because he used to need me. I need the baby now." But Jiho learned a long time ago that love isn't about deserving. It's about showing up. It's about holding on when everything says let go. That evening, he returns to find Hodu drawing with crayons Mrs. Choi gave him. The picture is of 2 stick figures holding hands, one big, one small. "That's us," Hodu announces proudly. Jiho picks him up and holds him close, breathing in the scent of baby shampoo and innocence. This is enough, he thinks. This is everything. But somewhere in Seoul, a woman is driving through the night with a photo on her broken phone screen. and nothing will ever be the same again. The narrow alley leading to the boarding house is barely wide enough for one person. Amina steps out of the black SUV at the alley entrance, and the contrast is jarring. Her Valentino coat, her diamond-studded watch, against crumbling brick walls and puddles reflecting broken streetlights. Her shadow stretches long across the wet cement floor, dark, imposing, a complete contrast to the poverty surrounding her. People stare from windows, some hide. Word travels fast in poor neighborhoods. Strangers in expensive cars mean trouble. Musa stays close. "Ma'am, should we wait here?" Amina's voice is steady, but her heart is hammering. She climbs the narrow stairs to the second floor, each step bringing her closer to the moment she's imagined 1,000 times. What will she say? What if he doesn't recognize her? What if... The door to Unit 204 is partially open. She hears laughter, a child's voice, bright and clear. Amina pushes the door open wider, and there, sitting on a worn mat, wearing a patched sweater and mismatched socks, is her son. Malik, her baby, 4 years older. His face rounder, his hair in soft twists, his skin glowing with health. But those eyes, those are her eyes, her father's eyes. Eyes that carry the bloodline of warriors and kings. The small scar above his eyebrow catches the light. Amina's world stops. The child is sitting in a young man's lap, a Korean boy, thin and tired-looking, but his face is soft as he helps the child stack blocks. "Good job, Hodu," the young man says, and his voice is so gentle it hurts to hear. Hodu, not Malik. They gave him a different name. The child turns and sees her. For a moment, one shimmering, fragile moment, their eyes meet. Does he remember? Is there some deep cellular recognition between mother and child? But then the child's face scrunches in uncertainty, and he scrambles back into the young man's arms. "Appa," he whispers, suddenly afraid. "Appa." The word is a knife. Amina takes a step forward, and the young man, he can't be more than 25, immediately stands, placing himself between her and the child. "Who are you?" he asks, polite but firm. Amina has faced down warlords and crime bosses without flinching. She's negotiated million-dollar deals with a gun to her head. She's built an empire on steel and strategy. But this thin boy, in his cheap clothes and careful stance, makes her hands shake. "This child," she says, and her voice cracks just slightly, "is my son." Jiho's expression doesn't change, but his arms tighten protectively around Hodu. "I don't know who you are, but I know he's safe with me." "Safe?" The word tastes bitter. "You're raising him in poverty. Look at this place." "He has food, he has love, he has someone who reads to him every night and checks his breathing while he sleeps." Jiho's voice remains calm, but there's steel underneath. What can you give him that's more important than that? Amina opens her mouth, then closes it. Everything, she wants to say. Everything money can buy. The best schools, the best doctors, a future that isn't limited by peeling paint and second-hand clothes. But she sees how Hodu clings to him, sees the inhaler in Jiho's pocket, the careful way he holds the child, the love that radiates from every movement. "I'm his mother," she says finally. "Then where were you?" Jiho asks quietly. "For 2 years, where were you when he cried in the night? When he was sick? When he needed someone?" "I was looking for him." The words come out harsh. "Every day for 4 years, I've been looking for him." 4 years? Jiho frowns. "But he's only..." He was 6 months old when they took him. Amina's voice breaks. 6 months old when my enemies kidnapped him to hurt me. I've torn apart 3 countries trying to find him. The silence is heavy. Hodu whispers something in Jiho's ear, and Jiho nods, carrying him to the small bedroom area and settling him with a worn picture book. When he returns, his expression is softer, but no less protective. I don't know your story, he says, but Hodu, that's his name now, he doesn't know you. To him, you're a stranger. You can't just take him. He's my blood. Amina's hands clench into fists. He's his own person. Jiho stands his ground, and he's scared of you right now. The truth of it lands like a blow. Amina looks past him to where her son, her Malik, their Hodu, peeks around the corner, watching her with wide, uncertain eyes. She's faced down men with guns. She's survived assassination attempts. She's built an empire from nothing, but her own child is afraid of her. I'll come back, she says hoarsely. I'll come back with proof, with lawyers, with everything I need. Proof won't change his heart, Jiho says gently. If you want to be his mother, you'll have to earn it. Amina turns and walks out before he can see her tears. In the SUV, Musa asks, "Ma'am, what are your orders?" Amina stares at her hands, hands that have held guns, signed death warrants, built an empire. Hands that once cradled a baby and failed to keep him safe. Find out everything about that boy, she says quietly. Everything. Who he is, where he came from, how he found my son. And then, Amina closes her eyes. Then I figure out how to be what I haven't been in 4 years, a mother. When power and love collide, who wins? If this story is pulling at your heart, let me know in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because this Mafia queen is about to learn that the hardest battles aren't fought with weapons. 3 days later, Amina returns. This time she brings her lawyer, a sharp-dressed woman named Lee, who carries a leather briefcase and an air of expensive inevitability. Jiho is feeding Hodu lunch when they knock. Through the thin door, he can see Mrs. Choi and other neighbors watching from their doorways, worried. He opens the door slowly. Amina looks different in daylight, less intimidating somehow. There are shadows under her eyes that weren't there before. Her coat is still expensive, her posture still regal, but something in her face has softened. Until the lawyer starts talking. "Mr. Park Ji-ho," Lee says crisply, opening her briefcase. "My client is Amina Diop, biological mother of the child currently in your care. We have DNA evidence, birth certificates, medical records, and witness statements." She lays papers on Jiho's small table like weapons. Furthermore, we have documented proof that the child was kidnapped at 6 months of age and has been missing for 4 years. Ms. Diop has been actively searching for him throughout this period. Jiho looks at the papers, but doesn't touch them. Behind him, Hodu has stopped eating, sensing the tension. These documents establish irrefutable biological connection and legal guardianship, Lee continues. We're prepared to be reasonable about transition, but the child will be returned to his mother. No, Jiho's voice is quiet but absolute. Lee blinks. Excuse me? No, Jiho repeats, meeting Amina's eyes directly. You can't just take him. Mr. Park, I don't think you understand. I understand perfectly. Jiho stands, placing himself between them and Hodu. I understand that papers don't mean anything to a 4-year-old. I understand that DNA doesn't comfort him when he has nightmares. I understand that all the money in the world can't replace the person who's been there every single day. This is his mother, Lee says, irritation creeping into her professional tone. No. Ji-ho looks at Amina. She gave birth to him. That's biology, but she hasn't been his mother for 4 years. Amina flinches. That's not fair, she says, her voice low and dangerous. They took him from me. I didn't abandon him. I know. Ji-ho's expression softens just slightly. I believe you, but that doesn't change what he needs now. He doesn't know you. He's afraid of you. If you take him, his voice catches. If you take him, it will break him. Do you know who I am? Amina's control is slipping. Do you have any idea what I'm capable of? I know exactly who you are. Ji-ho doesn't back down. You're powerful. You're dangerous. You could destroy me with a phone call. But power can't make a child love you. Power can't undo fear. The silence is crushing. Hodu starts crying, overwhelmed by the tension. Immediately, Ji-ho turns, kneeling beside him. Shh, little one. It's okay. You're safe. He picks up the child, and Hodu buries his face in Ji-ho's neck, his small body shaking with sobs. Amina watches, and something in her expression cracks. She sees her son, her Malik, seeking comfort from someone else, sees him feel safe in arms that aren't hers. This is what I lost, she thinks. Not just him, but this, the everyday tenderness, the automatic trust. Please, Lee says. Ms. Diop has every legal right. Leave. Amina's voice is hoarse. Ma'am, leave, now. Lee gathers the papers, confused and frustrated, and exits. The door closes behind her. Amina stands in the tiny room that smells like rice and laundry soap, watching her son cry in another man's arms. I don't want to hurt him, she says finally, quietly. I just want him back. Ji-ho rocks Hodu gently, and gradually the crying subsides. When he speaks, his voice is surprisingly gentle. Then don't come as a queen, he says. Come as a mother, slowly. Let him know you. Let him trust you. And if he doesn't? Amina's hands are trembling again. What if he never? Then you love him anyway. Ji-ho meets her eyes. That's what parents do. Amina stands there for a long moment, looking at her son's back, at the way he holds onto this poor Korean boy, like a lifeline. I don't know how, she whispers. Neither did I. Ji-ho offers a small, sad smile. But we figure it out, one day at a time. Amina nods slowly. Then she turns and leaves, closing the door softly behind her. Outside in the SUV, Musa asks, Ma'am, should we proceed with legal action? Amina stares at her hands that have built empires but can't hold her child. No, she says, not yet. I need to do this differently. For the next week, Amina watches. She doesn't knock on the door, doesn't demand, doesn't use her power. She simply watches. She sees Ji-ho leave for work at dawn, sees him return exhausted at dusk, sees him stop at the market to buy vegetables and rice, counting coins carefully. She sees him carry Hodu on his shoulders, making the child laugh by pretending to be a horse. She sees him sit on the steps of the boarding house, helping Hodu practice Korean letters with a stick and sand because they can't afford workbooks. And one evening, she watches something that breaks her completely. They're at the small park near the sea, just a patch of grass and a rusted swing set. The sun is setting, painting everything gold. Hodu is running around, laughing, when suddenly he trips and falls hard on the concrete. His cry pierces the evening air. Jiho runs to him immediately, checking for injuries. Hodu's knee is scraped and bleeding, and he's gasping, starting to panic. Can't breathe. Hodu wheezes. Asthma attack, triggered by pain and fear. Amina moves to intervene, but she stops, watching. Jiho doesn't panic. He pulls out the inhaler from his pocket, the one he always carries, and sits down on the concrete, pulling Hodu into his lap. "Breathe with me," he says calmly. "In and out. That's it. You're okay. Appa's here." He helps Hodu use the inhaler properly, counting the seconds, keeping his voice steady and sure, even though Amina can see the fear in his eyes. Slowly, Hodu's breathing steadies. "Good," Jiho whispers, holding him close. "So good, brave boy." He takes off his thin jacket, his only jacket, and wraps it around Hodu, who is shivering from the adrenaline and fear. "Appa cold," Hodu protests weakly. "Appa's fine." Jiho kisses the top of his head. "Appa's always fine when you're okay." Amina watches from behind a tree, tears streaming down her face. This is what she missed. This is what 4 years of searching couldn't give her. The everyday miracles of parenting. The scraped knees and asthma attacks, and moments of pure, selfless love. She steps out from her hiding place. Jiho sees her and tenses but doesn't move away. Hodu, exhausted from crying, doesn't notice her at first. "Thank you," Amina says, her voice breaking. "Thank you for saving him, not just today, every day." Jiho looks at her for a long moment. "You're his mother. You should know how to do this." "I don't." The admission costs her everything. Amina Diop, the Black Queen, the woman who never shows weakness, breaking open in a children's playground. "I don't know how to be soft, how to comfort, how to... I built my power on being hard, on never bending, and now my own child is afraid of me." She sits down on the bench nearby, her expensive coat dragging on the dirty concrete. "I held him once, when he was born. For 6 months, I tried to be both a mother and a queen. And then they came for him, my enemies. They knew the one way to destroy me was to take what I loved most." Her hands clench. "I fought. I killed 3 of them. But there were too many, and I had to choose, chase them and risk him dying in the crossfire, or secure my territory and search methodically. I chose wrong. I thought I could find him in days. It took 4 years." Hodu stirs in Jiho's arms, and for the first time, he looks directly at Amina. "You sad?" he asks in his small voice. Amina nods, unable to speak. Appa says, "When sad, you need hug." The simplicity of it, the innocence. "Your Appa is very wise," Amina manages. Jiho looks at her, and something shifts in his expression. He sees past the power, the danger, the Mafia Queen reputation. He sees a broken mother trying to find her way back to her child. "If you want to be close to him," Jiho says carefully, "come as a mother, not as a queen, no lawyers, no threats, just you." "I don't know if I remember how to be just me," Amina admits. "Then learn." Jiho stands, still holding Hodu. "You're brilliant enough to build an empire. You're strong enough to survive 4 years of searching. You're brave enough to face enemies with guns. You can learn to be gentle." He takes a step closer. "Tomorrow, come to the market with us. No cars, no bodyguards, just come. Help us buy vegetables. Carry Hodu when he's tired. Read him a story, small things. And if he still doesn't, then you come back the next day and the next, until he sees you not as a stranger, but as someone who shows up, someone who stays." Amina looks at her son, at Hodu, at Malik, and nods slowly. Tomorrow, she promises. That night, back in her hotel, Amina tells Musa and Zara she won't need them for the next few days. "Ma'am, that's dangerous." "I know." She removes her expensive watch, her rings, her armor. "But I need to do this alone." The next morning, she arrives at the boarding house, in jeans and a simple sweater. No makeup, no weapons, just her. Jiho opens the door and sees her, and his expression softens into something like respect. "Ready?" he asks. "No," Amina admits, "but I'm here." Hodu peeks out from behind Jiho's legs, curious now instead of afraid. "She coming with us?" he asks. "If you're okay with that," Jiho says gently. Hodu considers, then nods slowly. It's a start, a small, terrifying, hopeful start. For 10 days, Amina learns to be human again. She goes to the market with them, carrying bags that cost more in groceries than she usually spends on a single meal. She sits on the floor of the tiny room, helping Hodu stack blocks and reading him stories in accented Korean that makes him giggle. She learns that he loves strawberries but hates peas, that he sleeps with his thumb in his mouth, that his favorite word is why, and he asks it approximately 100 times a day. She learns that Jiho works himself to exhaustion but never complains, that he saves money in a jar labeled Hodu's future, even though his own shoes have holes, that he sings off-key lullabies and makes up stories about brave walnut boys who go on adventures. She learns that love isn't grand gestures, it's small, consistent, relentless tenderness. And slowly, so slowly, Hodu starts to warm to her. He lets her hold his hand at the market. He brings her his drawings. He asks her to read the bedtime story instead of Jiho. One evening, he falls asleep with his head on her lap, and Amina cries silently while Jiho watches from across the room. "You're doing well," Jiho says softly. "I've missed so much," Amina whispers, running her fingers through Hodu's soft hair. "But you're here now." Amina looks up at Jiho, and something passes between them, something neither of them is ready to name yet. Gratitude, understanding, the beginning of something deeper. "Thank you," she says, "for giving him this life, for being what I couldn't be." "You're being it now," Jiho replies. "That's what matters." But outside, in the darkness, cars without license plates are parking on Yongho Street. Bangai, Amina's rival from Africa, has been watching, waiting, and he's grown tired of games. If Amina wants to play at being human, he'll remind her what happens when queens step off their thrones. It's 11 p.m. when they come. Jiho is cleaning dishes. Amina is settling Hodu into bed, telling him a story about a princess who lost her way home. The first sound is boots on stairs, heavy, multiple sets. Amina's entire body goes rigid, every instinct honed over years. In the underworld screams danger. "Jiho," she says quietly, "take Hodu, lock the bedroom door, now." "What? Now?" He hears it in her voice, the return of the queen, and doesn't argue. He scoops up Hodu, who whimpers in protest, and runs to the bedroom. The door to the apartment slams open, 5 men armed, led by someone Amina recognizes, Kofi, one of Bangaye's lieutenants. "Hello, Amina," Kofi says in Wolof, his smile cold. "You've been hard to find lately, too busy playing house." Amina stands between them and the bedroom door. "Leave, now, before this becomes something you regret." "Regret?" Kofi laughs. "Bangay sends his regards. He says to tell you the child is the price. For your territory, for your operations, for everything you took from him. The child has nothing to do with this. The child is everything. Kofi takes a step forward. You went soft, Amina. Dangerous mistake. We've been watching you play mother for days. It's pathetic. The Black Queen, reduced to shopping for vegetables with some poor Korean boy and a choose your next words carefully, Amina says, her voice dropping to a lethal whisper. In the bedroom, Hodu starts crying, frightened by the voices. One of the men moves toward the door. Amina moves faster. She's rusty. It's been days since she fought, weeks since she hurt anyone. But muscle memory is a powerful thing. She disarms the first man with a precise strike to his wrist, catches the falling weapon, and uses it as a baton against the second. But there are too many. One of them gets past her and kicks open the bedroom door. Ji-ho is there, holding Hodu, his back against the wall. He's unarmed, untrained, terrified, but standing his ground. "Stay back," he shouts. The man laughs and reaches for Hodu. And Ji-ho does something brave and stupid and utterly selfless. He throws himself at the man, tackling him away from Hodu. They crash into the wall, and Ji-ho fights with everything he has. No skill, no training, just desperate love. The man throws him off easily, and Ji-ho's head hits the concrete floor with a sickening crack. No! Amina's scream tears through the apartment. Hodu is sobbing, calling for his appa, and Ji-ho isn't moving. Kofi grabs Hodu, ignoring the child screaming and kicking. Bengay says hello, he tells Amina. You have 24 hours. Surrender your territory or we kill the boy. Both of them, actually. He gestures to Ji-ho's unconscious form. The Korean too, since you seem to care. Amina's vision goes red. In that moment, two versions of herself war inside her. The mother who would give anything to keep her child safe, and the queen who knows that surrendering means death for all of them eventually. If you hurt him, she says, her voice shaking with rage, if you touch one hair on his head, I will burn your entire bloodline to ash. I will make Bangaye watch everyone he loves die slowly. I will— 24 hours, Kofi interrupts, already heading for the door with the screaming child. And then they're gone. The apartment falls silent except for Hodu's fading cries from outside. Amina runs to Ji-ho, checking his pulse. He's alive, bleeding from a head wound, but alive. Ji-ho, she whispers desperately. Ji-ho, please wake up. His eyes flutter open, unfocused and confused. Hodu, he mumbles. Where's Hodu? They took him. The words taste like poison. They took him, and you're hurt, and this is all my fault. Ji-ho tries to sit up, wincing. Then we get him back. We? Amina looks at him in disbelief. You can barely stand. You should go to the hospital. He's my son. Ji-ho's voice is firm despite the pain. I don't care who took him. I don't care how dangerous they are. We get him back. Amina sees it then, the same fierce protective love that she feels. Not blood, not biology, just love. Pure, uncomplicated, willing to die for love. Yes, she says, we get him back. But as she helps Ji-ho to his feet, as she calls Musa and Zara and sets her machine in motion, one thought echoes through her mind. I've lost him twice now, once to kidnappers, once to my own choices. If I lose him a third time— She doesn't finish the thought. She can't. Outside, Mrs. Choi and the neighbors are gathering, frightened and worried. Police sirens wail in the distance. But Amina knows the police can't help with this. This is mafia business. This is her world. the violent, bloody world she tried to leave behind for 10 precious days. The world that just reminded her, queens don't get to play house, not without paying the price. The warehouse at the edge of Busan's industrial district is exactly where Amina knew they'd be. Bangaye always did favor the theatrical. It's 2 a.m. Musa and Zara wanted to bring an army, but Amina refused. Bangaye's terms were clear. She comes alone or Hodu dies. But she's not alone, not really. Jiho insisted on coming. The doctor at the clinic rapped his head and told him he likely has a concussion, that he needs rest. Jiho told the doctor that rest can wait until his son is safe. Now they stand outside the warehouse, the Mafia queen and the poor Korean boy, an unlikely pair united by love for the same child. "You should stay here," Amina says quietly. "This is my world, my fight." "He's our son," Jiho replies simply. "Our fight, our son." The words settle something in Amina's chest. Some recognition that family isn't about who came first or who has rights. It's about who stays, who fights, who loves. They enter the warehouse together. Inside, the space is cavernous and dimly lit. Shipping containers line the walls like tombstones. And in the center, on a metal chair, is Hodu. He's crying softly, hiccuping, his face streaked with tears. When he sees them, he tries to run, but Kofi holds him back. "Appa, Mama." The words pierce the darkness. Mama. Amina's step falters. He called her Mama. For the first time, he called her Mama. Bangay steps out of the shadows, a tall man with cold eyes and a smile that never reaches them. "Amina," he says in Wolof, "you look different, softer. Motherhood suits you. Unfortunately, it's made you weak." "Let the child go," Amina says, her voice steady. "This is between us." No, the child is exactly the point. Bangay circles them slowly. 4 years ago, you took everything from me. My territory, my reputation, my brother's life. I've waited a long time for this moment. Your brother was a rapist and a murderer who targeted children, Amina says coldly. He got what he deserved. And now you'll get what you deserve. Bangay nods, and 6 more men emerge from behind the containers, all armed. "Sign over your operations, every territory, every contact, every shipment, or watch your son die." "You'll kill us anyway," Amina says. "Probably." Bangay shrugs. "But maybe not the boy. Maybe I'll keep him, raise him to hate you, turn him into what his mother really is. A monster." Jiho steps forward, his voice shaking but clear. "You want to talk about monsters? You kidnap a 4-year-old child. You threaten his life to settle business disputes. You use fear because you have nothing else." Bangay looks at him with mild interest. "And who are you? The poverty-stricken boyfriend? How inspirational. True love conquers all." "No," Jiho says. "Love doesn't conquer. It protects. It sacrifices. It shows up every day and does the hard thing because someone else needs you to." He looks at Amina. "She came to my door as a queen. All power, all control. But she learned to sit on my floor and play with blocks. She learned to shop at markets and read bedtime stories. She learned to be gentle because Hodu needed gentle. That's not weakness. That's the bravest thing I've ever seen." Amina stares at him, something breaking and reforming in her chest. Bangay laughs. How romantic, how motivational, and how utterly pointless. He raises his hand, signaling his men. And Hodu starts coughing. The sound is harsh, wheezing. his little chest heaving as he struggles for breath. Asthma attack, triggered by fear and tears and stress. His inhaler, Jiho says urgently. He needs his inhaler. Let him wheeze, Bangaye says coldly. But Amina sees it the moment when power becomes meaningless. When all the territory and money and reputation in the world can't help because what's needed is the one thing Bangaye doesn't have: care. His inhaler is in my pocket, Jiho tells Kofi desperately. Please, please, he can't breathe. Kofi looks at Bangaye, who shrugs as if bored. Hodu's wheezing gets worse. His lips are turning pale, and Amina makes a choice. She drops to her knees. Please, I'll sign everything. I'll give you everything. Just let me help him, please. The Queen of Soul's underworld, begging on concrete. Bangaye savors it for a moment, then nods. Kofi releases Hodu, who stumbles forward. Jiho catches him, pulling out the inhaler with shaking hands. Breathe with me, little one. That's it. In and out. Slowly, agonizingly, Hodu's breathing steadies. He clings to Jiho with one hand and reaches for Amina with the other. She takes his small hand, tears streaming down her face. Touching, Bangaye says, "Now sign." He places papers on a crate, transfer documents for every asset Amina built over 10 years. Amina looks at them, looks at her son, looks at Jiho holding him. Everything I built was to have power, she thinks. Power so no one could hurt me again. Power so I could find him. But what good is power if I lose him anyway? She picks up the pen. Ma'am, don't. Musa's voice comes through the hidden earpiece she's wearing. He and Zara are outside with a team, ready to storm in. We can take them and risk Hodu getting caught in the crossfire? Amina whispers. No, never again. She signs the first page. Jiho watches her, sees what it costs her, sees her destroying her empire, one signature at a time, for their son. Amina, Jiho says softly. You don't have to. Yes, I do. She signs the second page, the third. Because some things matter more than power. Some things are worth losing everything for. She signs the final page and slides the documents across the crate. Bangaye picks them up, smiling. See, that wasn't so hard. Now you let them go, Amina says firmly. That was the deal. The deal? Bangaye laughs. There was never a deal. I'm going to kill all 3 of you, take your territory anyway, and make sure everyone knows what happens when the Black Queen goes soft. He raises his gun, pointing it at Hodu, and Amina moves. She's unarmed, outnumbered, surrounded, but she's still the woman who built an empire from nothing. She throws herself forward, not at Bangaye, but at Kofi, using his momentary surprise to grab his weapon. She twists, fires twice, not at people, but at the chains, holding a massive container suspended above them. The chains snap. The container swings down like a pendulum, crashing into Bangaye's men, sending them scattering. In the chaos, Jiho runs with Hodu toward the exit, but Bangaye is fast. He catches up, grabbing Hodu's arm and pulling him back. Nice try, Bangaye snarls, pressing his gun to Hodu's head, but Jiho doesn't think, doesn't plan, doesn't calculate. He throws himself between the gun and Hodu. No, Amina screams. The warehouse doors explode inward. Musa and Zara storm in with a full team, weapons drawn. They've been waiting for the signal, the moment Amina fired Kofi's gun. Bangaye is surrounded in seconds, but his gun is still pressed against Jiho's chest, and Jiho is still shielding Hodu with his body. Back off or he dies, Bangaye threatens. Amina walks forward slowly, hands raised. You want me? Here I am. Let them go. This ends between us. It ends with all of you dead, Bangay spits. Then you'll die too, Amina says calmly. Because the moment you pull that trigger, my people will fill you with bullets. You'll kill him, but you won't survive to enjoy my territory. Is that what you want? To die in a warehouse for revenge? Bangay's hand wavers. Or, Amina continues, you can walk away. Leave Busan. Leave Korea. I'll give you a territory in Southeast Asia, neutral ground, and enough money to start over. No one else has to die tonight. You're bargaining? Bangay laughs, but there's uncertainty in his eyes now. You just signed everything away. Those documents aren't legal without witness signatures and notarization, Amina says. You really think I'd make it that easy? But I'll give you something real, something valuable. Your life and a fresh start. That's more than you gave my son. The silence stretches. Hodu whimpers and Jiho holds him tighter, still standing between him and the gun. This boy means that much to you? Bangay asks, gesturing at Jiho with contempt. This nobody? Yes, Amina's voice is clear. Because he's not a nobody. He's the man who saved my son when I couldn't. He's the man who taught me that strength isn't about power, it's about showing up. He's the man who makes my son laugh and feel safe and believe the world can be good. She looks at Jiho and her voice softens. He's the man I'm falling in love with. Jiho's eyes widen. Even Bangay seems taken aback. So yes, Amina continues, he means that much to me. They both do. And I will burn everything I've built to keep them safe. Everything. Because power without love is just an empty throne. And I've sat on that throne long enough. Bangay lowers his gun slowly. You've gone soft, he says with disgust. No, Amina replies. I've finally remembered what it means to be human. Bangay backs toward the exit, his men covering him. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Amina's voice hardens. Touch my family again, and I'll show you just how not soft I can be. Now get out of my city. They leave, disappearing into the night. The warehouse falls silent except for Hodu's crying. Amina runs to them, and the three of them collapse together, Jiho, Hodu, and Amina, holding each other on the cold concrete floor. You're okay, Amina whispers, checking Hodu over frantically. You're okay, baby. Mama's here, Appa's here, we're all here. You called me Appa, Jiho says to Hodu softly, tears streaming down his face. You called both of us. You are both, Hodu says simply, in the logic of children. Appa and Mama, both stay. Both stay. Amina looks at Jiho over Hodu's head, and she sees her future in his eyes. Not the empire she built, not the power she wielded, but something infinitely more valuable. A family. You said you're falling in love with me, Jiho says quietly. I did. Amina doesn't look away. I know I have no right. I brought danger to your door. I'm everything you should run from. But I'm not running, Jiho interrupts, because I'm falling in love with you too, with the woman who learned to be gentle, with the mother who gave up her empire for her child, with you. Outside, sirens wail. Musa and Zara are handling the aftermath, the explanations, the cleanup. But inside this moment, there are just three people who found each other against all odds. A mafia queen learning to be a mother, a poor boy learning to be a partner, and a child teaching them both what love really means. 3 months later. The apartment is different now, still small, Still in the same building, but transformed. New furniture that doesn't wobble. A proper bed for Hodu with soft pillows and warm blankets. A bookshelf overflowing with picture books. A kitchen that actually has space to cook. Amina paid for it all, but she did it carefully, with Jiho's input, respecting his pride while honoring his needs. It's a delicate balance they're still learning. How to merge her resources with his independence, her world with his values, her past with their future, but they're learning together. This morning, Amina wakes to find Jiho already up, making breakfast. He's singing off-key to the radio, and Hodu is helping by banging a wooden spoon on a pot. She watches them from the doorway, and her heart does something it hasn't done in years. It feels full. "Mama!" Hodu spots her and runs over, wrapping his arms around her legs. "We making pancakes?" "I see that." Amina scoops him up, breathing in the scent of baby shampoo and maple syrup. "Are they good pancakes?" "The best," Hodu declares, then whispers conspiratorially. "Appa burn too, but don't tell." "I heard that," Jiho calls from the kitchen, and Amina laughs, really laughs, deep and genuine. She brings Hodu to the kitchen, and Jiho slides a plate across to her. The pancakes are slightly uneven, a bit too brown on one side. They're perfect. "Thank you," she says softly. Jiho meets her eyes and smiles. Always. They eat together at the small table, a family ritual they've built over 3 months of learning each other's rhythms. Hodu chatters about his preschool, which Amina enrolled him in after extensive research and multiple visits. Jiho talks about his new job at a community center, where he coordinates youth programs instead of loading cargo. Amina listens, contributes, and marvels at how normal this feels. How right. She's stepped back from active operations, left Musa and Zara to run the legitimate businesses she's kept. She still has wealth, still has influence, but she's no longer the Black Queen. She's just Amina, mother, partner, woman learning to build a life instead of an empire. After breakfast, Jiho clears the dishes while Amina helps Hodu get dressed for preschool. The routine is comfortable now, worn smooth by repetition. "Mama," Hodu says as she buttons his shirt, "you staying today?" "I'm staying every day," Amina promises, kissing his forehead. "Forever?" "Forever." "And Appa?" "Appa too." Hodu smiles, satisfied with this answer in the way only children can be, taking promises as absolute truth because the adults they love wouldn't lie. At the preschool drop-off, Hodu kisses them both goodbye and runs to join his friends without looking back. The teacher, Mrs. Kim, smiles at them warmly. "He's doing wonderfully," she tells them. "So much more confident than when he started. You're both doing a great job." "We're trying," Jiho says. "That's all any parent can do." Walking back from the preschool, Jiho takes Amina's hand. It still surprises her sometimes, this casual intimacy, this public declaration that they're together. In her old life, relationships were strategic. Partnerships were about power. This is different. This is choosing each other every day. Not because it benefits an empire, but because it feeds the soul. "I have something to tell you," Amina says, as they reach the small park where she first watched Jiho comfort Hodu. Jiho looks concerned. "What is it?" "Bangay contacted me. He wants to meet, to officially agree to terms and sign a peace treaty." Jiho's hand tightens on hers. "Is it safe?" "Musa and Zara will be there. It's on neutral ground with witnesses." Amina pauses. "But I wanted to ask, do you think I should go?" "Why are you asking me?" Because this affects our family, affects our safety. I don't make decisions alone anymore. Jiho stops walking and turns to face her fully. Do you think it will bring closure, real peace? I think it might, Amina admits. Bengay has nothing to gain from continued conflict. And I've upheld my end, gave him the Southeast Asia territory, the resources to start fresh. This meeting would formalize it. Make sure he knows that if he leaves us alone, we'll leave him alone. Then go, Jiho says, but come back. Always come back. Always, Amina promises. That evening, after Hodu is asleep, they sit on the small balcony of the apartment. The city sparkles below them, Busan in all its gritty beauty. Do you miss it? Jiho asks quietly. The power, the control. Amina considers the question honestly. Sometimes power is seductive. It makes you feel invincible, but it's also lonely, and it cost me everything that actually mattered. She takes his hand. I don't miss being a queen, but I don't regret what I learned there either. I learned to be strong, to survive, to fight. Those things helped me protect Hodu when it mattered. They helped me stand up to Bengay. So it wasn't wasted. No, but it wasn't the destination either. Amina leans her head on his shoulder. This balcony, this moment, you. Jiho kisses the top of her head. I love you. I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring things out, but I love you too, Amina interrupts. And you're right. We're still figuring it out. But I want to figure it out with you. I want to build something real, something that lasts. A family, Jiho says. A family, Amina agrees. They sit in comfortable silence, watching the city lights. Inside, Hodu sleeps peacefully, his breathing steady and calm. The inhaler sits on the nightstand, ready if needed, but unused tonight. His drawings cover the walls. Pictures of 3 stick figures holding hands, of houses with gardens, of suns that shine bright and warm. The future he's imagining, the future they're building together. 2 weeks later, Amina meets with Bengay. The meeting is tense but productive. Papers are signed. Territories are officially divided. Bengay looks at her across the table and says grudgingly, "You really gave it all up for them." "Not all of it," Amina corrects. "Just the parts that would hurt them. I still have enough. More than enough." "And you're happy? Playing house with some poor Korean boy?" Amina smiles. "He's not poor anymore. I made sure of that. But yes, I'm happier than I've been in 10 years. Bangaye shakes his head, but there's something almost like respect in his eyes. "Maybe you're smarter than I thought. Maybe power isn't everything." "It's not," Amina says. "But don't worry, I remember how to use it if I need to. Touch my family and you'll remember too." They part ways and Amina walks out into the sunshine, feeling lighter than she has in years. That night, she comes home to find Jiho teaching Hodu to make kimbap. The kitchen is a disaster, rice everywhere, vegetables scattered across the counter, but they're laughing. "Mama," Hodu runs to her with rice-sticky hands. "We cooking?" "I can see that." Amina hugs him, not caring about the rice getting on her expensive coat. "Can I help?" "Yes," Hodu drags her to the counter. "You roll." So she does. She rolls kimbap with her son and the man she loves, and it's imperfect and messy and absolutely perfect. After dinner, after Hodu's bath, they read him 3 stories instead of 1, because he begs so sweetly. Then Jiho sings him a lullaby, while Amina holds his hand, and slowly, gradually, he drifts off to sleep. They tiptoe out of the room together. In the living room, Jiho pulls Amina close, and they sway to music only they can hear. "Thank you," Amina whispers. "For what?" "For seeing me, not the queen, not the power, just me." "You're easy to see," Jiho says, "once you let people look." "I'm learning." "We both are." They dance in the small apartment, two people from completely different worlds who found each other through love for a child and stayed for love of each other. Outside, the city sleeps. Ships come and go from the port. The world keeps turning. But inside this small room, on the second floor of a building that used to house only survival, there is something rarer than power, more valuable than empire. There is home, there is family, there is love that doesn't conquer or dominate, but simply stays, through struggles and scars, through pasts that haunt and futures uncertain. Love that shows up every day and says, "You, I choose you," again and again and again. Amina Diop was once a queen who lost everything. Then she became a mother who found everything that mattered. And now she's simply a woman in love, dancing in a small apartment with a man who taught her that the greatest strength isn't building walls, it's opening doors, that the truest power isn't control, it's trust, that the deepest victory isn't conquest, it's coming home. In the bedroom, Hodu sleeps peacefully, dreaming of families that stay together and love that never ends. And on the balcony, a gentle breeze carries the scent of the sea. A new beginning, not perfect, not without challenges, but real, true, theirs. The Black Mafia queen found her lost child, and in finding him, she found herself. She found love, she found home, and she learned that sometimes the bravest thing a warrior can do is lay down her weapons and pick up her child instead. Sometimes the greatest power is choosing to be powerless in the presence of love. Sometimes the real throne isn't made of gold and violence. It's made of morning pancakes and bedtime stories, and hands held tight in the darkness. And that throne is worth more than any empire. This is what true love looks like. Not perfect, but present. Not powerful, but real. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that it's never too late to change, to heal, to choose love over power, please subscribe to this channel. Because every night we share stories like this, stories of redemption, stories of hope, stories that remind us we're all worthy of love, no matter how far we've fallen or how lost we've been. Like this video if Amina and Jiho's romance inspired you. Comment and tell me, what would you sacrifice for the people you love? And remember, you're never too broken to heal, never too lost to find your way home, never too powerful to learn to be gentle. Thank you for spending this hour with me. Thank you for believing in love that transforms. Thank you for being here. Until tomorrow night, when we'll meet another soul finding their way home. Good night. 3 months pass. The boarding house on Yongho Street remains the same, worn but warm, poor but full of love. In Unit 204, now with a properly fixed door and cheerful curtains in the window, a small family begins each day together. Amina no longer wears expensive coats. She wears jeans and soft sweaters. She learns to cook Korean food with Mrs. Choi's patient teaching. She reads bedtime stories with a voice that's finally learned gentleness. Jiho no longer works at the port. With Amina's quiet help, he's enrolled in community college, studying social work, dreaming of helping other children like Hodu. And Hodu thrives. His asthma is managed with proper care. His smile comes easily now. He calls them both by name without fear. Appa, Mama, both. Some empires are built on power. Some thrones are carved from conquest. But the greatest kingdom of all? It's built on ordinary mornings and shared meals and hands held tight in the darkness. It's built on love that stays. And that empire, that beautiful, messy, perfect empire of three, is the only one worth ruling.